can toddler scribbles actually become stylish artwork? Well, in this video, I'm going to be showing you 3 simple DIY artwork pieces that anyone can make at home. We'll be turning toddler artwork into a keepsake piece, creating word art with Scrabble tiles, and the last one uses felting techniques that add a beautiful texture. So let's start with the toddler artwork transformation. This first one is really good if you've got any kids' artwork where they just splash a load of colours on a bit of paper. I have done this before and it was really effective. You take the artwork, make sure that the colours are quite in keeping with what you want. Ours is quite colourful, so I'm going colourful. And we're basically going to cut these down into strips of about 1 centimetre-ish wide. So I am using my guillotine here to trim down the strips, but a pair of scissors will do the job just fine. Just try and make sure that you keep it reasonably straight. So now I have a nice pile of various strips. What we're going to do with these is we are going to create a woven style art piece with these strips. So first thing you need to do is lay them out vertically to the width that you want. So just place your strips side by side vertically on the table. The next thing you want to do is take another strip, and this time we're going to go vertical with this strip. So your first 2 are normally a little bit tricky, especially if you haven't taped it down like I haven't. But it can be helpful to tape the top end just so that they don't move about. We're basically going to go under, over, under, over, under, over. I've started at the top and then I'm going to just shimmy it down about to the middle. Once you get the first 2 in, it does become a little bit easier, but the first couple are a little bit tricky to do. When we go on to our next strip, we're going to be doing the opposite to what we've just done with the previous strip. And then we're basically just going to keep alternating that until we have a finished art piece. Now that we've completed the whole weaving process, we're going to just flip it over and we're just going to pop some sticky tape on the back just to secure it so it doesn't move. Next thing, we're going to just get the edges trimmed up and then we can get it into the frame. I really love this project. It's just a nice way to use the girls' artwork but also make it intentional. The next one I'm going to be doing is like a Scrabble tile effect. I've got these like gold letter Scrabble tiles and I'm basically just going to do all of our names. So me, James and the girls and also our dog. So yeah, I just need to go through these and pick out the letters that I need and then we're going to have to play around in terms of how we lay out and stuff. I have had these tiles for a little while, so I will try and link them in the description below. If I can't find these exact ones, then I will link something similar. So I've got all my letters that I need. I think I'm going to go with this pink paper as the background. It's got like a pearlescent tone to it, so yeah, it's quite vivid. Then I've also got my picture frame and I've also got a mount because we are going to do a fabric covered mount. I've always quite liked the idea of covering a mount in fabric, but also it'll just elevate the artwork itself. So I will show you how to do this a little bit later on in this video. So next thing we're going to do is we're just going to have a play around with the letters and just try different layouts just to see what works best and what fits well within the mount. You're basically just going to be laying it out like you would play Scrabble, just have a play around with it and see what works. So I did use my mount as a guidance in terms of whether it would fit within the picture frame. So I think I've got my layout here. I did try a number of different layouts and this one was my favourite because it was quite well balanced and it fitted within the mount. Next thing I did was get the paper that I chose, and then I wanted to just find the middle of the layout so I could make sure I started in the centre point on the paper. Then I chose to use just sticky dots to stick down the Scrabble tiles. just easy and convenient to use. But obviously you could use glue, sticky back tape, anything that just stick it down basically. I did use a set square just to make sure that I was putting the letters on reasonably straight so they weren't going off at an angle or anything. So that's now done. Next thing we're going to do is pick out some fabric for this mount. So I've chosen this fabric to use on the mount. Once we've got our fabric, we just need to roughly cut it down to size. So we do want a little bit of an overhang, but don't worry about being too accurate here. It's all going to get covered over. The next thing we're going to do is grab our spray adhesive and we're going to spray this onto the front of the mount. And then we are going to flip the mount over and stick that onto the fabric like so. Next, we're just cutting off the corners at a 45-degree angle just to get rid of any bulk. Once you've done that, we're just going to trim down the fabric, making sure that it's narrower than the mount edges. Then we just want to go into the middle of the fabric with your scissors, and then we're just going to cut into each corner so we create these like triangles. Once we've done that, we're just going to again trim these down just to make sure that they're slightly narrower than the mount itself. Okay, so then the next step is to glue down all the edges. So I'm going to start off with the outer edges first, and then once we've done all the outer edges, I'm going to start on the inner edges. We just want to spray the glue on, stick the edges down, and move on to the next. If you do get any areas where you've got excess fraying, just give that a trim just to tidy it up. Once it's in the frame, it shouldn't fray anymore. It should be nice and secure. Okay, so now that we've got that all stuck down, I am just going to leave the mount for maybe about half an hour or so just to allow the glue to dry, and then we are going to get it mounted into the frame. I have now allowed it to dry, so let's get this mounted and ready to go on the wall. A little tip whenever you're mounting any artwork is just to make sure that obviously you give the frame and the glass a good clean. I generally either use white vinegar or rubbing alcohol on the glass. And there we go, it's now ready to hang on the wall. So for this next artwork piece, we are going to try some felting. So we're going to do a combination of wet felting and also needle felting. So first things first is doing the wet felting side of things. So I've got my supply of wool. You do need 100% wool for this. I've got a good selection of different colours and stuff here. I've also got some bubble wrap, and I've also got a towel to put down on the table. And then also you'll need a spray bottle with some warm soapy water, so dish soap and some warm water. And then that's all your materials you'll need. One thing that you do need to be mindful of is that there will be shrinkage. It can shrink up to 50%. So I've got my picture frame that I want to put this in too. I just need to be mindful that I probably need to do it a lot bigger than what the actual frame is. So let's give this a go. First thing I did was just pick out the colours I wanted to use. So I've got a mix of greens, some pinks, some blues and some purples. It's quite in keeping with our own home decor. So you just want to start your base layer first, so we want to be going horizontally. So I'm just going to start by pulling off small bits and laying it onto the bubble wrap with the towel underneath it. And yeah, we're just going to build it up, just doing this technique. I'll link any materials in the description below, just so you know what I've used for all of these projects. Okay, so now I've done the first layer, everything is all going in the same direction. We're now going to go on to the second layer. With the second layer, we are going to go vertical, so opposite direction to what we've just done, and we're just going to build that layer up next. I've used a mix of colours here. You can just choose one colour to do this. You don't have to do a mix of colours, it can just be one colour. Now that we've got two layers together, I am just going to go in with a quick spray just to wet it and dampen it down, and then we're going to move on to our third layer. With the third layer, we're going the opposite direction again, so we're going to be going horizontally with this. Now that we've done that, I'm just going to go on with the spray bottle and make sure that we get this really damp and quite wet, ready for us to do the next step to agitate the fibres together. So now that it's nice and damp, we're going to cover it up with the bubble wrap, then we're going to roll it in on itself, and then we're just going to keep rolling it back and forth, and basically what happens is it agitates all the fibres so that they then bind together. You also want to keep changing the direction that you're rolling it in. It just agitates the fibres even more. So I did actually find it easier to wrap the bubble wrap and the towel in together, because when you wrap just the bubble wrap, it shifts around and it wasn't the easiest way to do it. You can also use sushi bamboo rollers for this, which I have used previously, and I would say that they're probably the better option. So I'll link some in the description below. Now that we've rolled it a million times and really agitated the fibres, we are now going to take it out of the bubble wrap and we are going to throw it on the table to agitate it even more. Now we can lay it flat somewhere to let it dry. It should be dry in about 24 hours-ish, and then we can move on to the needle felting. Okay, so it's been a few days and the felt has now dried out, so we are now ready to do some needle felting. So what I am going to do is I'm going to do some words on mine. So I'm just going to do no riffraff. Always quite like that saying. So yeah, I've marked out with some chalk where I need to keep within. And then I've got some foam and I've got my felting needles. And then I just need to pick out some wool. So I used a mix of white and pink yarns with some gold thread, and basically I'm going to twist them together to give me the thread to write out my quote, and this worked really well, but you could also use the felting wool to build up and create the letters as well. Now place your felt piece onto the foam mat, then we're going to place the yarn that I've twisted together onto the felt, and then we're going to use that needle to stab into the yarn and also into the felt, and that will bind it together. So the felt needle, it's like barbed wire, so that agitates the wools together. The more you stab the wools together, the more they are going to bind together and be more secure. So once I've done the first layer, I'm just going to trim the ends so they're nice and tidy, and then go in with the felting needle just to tidy it up. So I've now finished this, so we can now get this cut down to size and get it in its frame. And there you have it, your third art piece to go on your wall.